A very good morning to you. Here we are. It's another beautiful Tuesday morning. If it's Tuesday, you know it is Siku ya Wazazi. Parenting Tuesday. Every Tuesday we get together and have enriching conversations that help us to gain a deeper understanding of how to become better parents. Now, COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted life. And last year was a crazy year. You know, we're hoping this year and believing this year things will be better. But last year, the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted life the way we know it. And I think one of the areas that was really hit hard is the area of parenting. We had a lot of issues happening on the home front, a lot of challenges with our children, and then they had to stay home, not going to school. The whole scenario was very difficult. And now here we are, 2021, they've resumed back to school, and it's still a challenge. But even as I was thinking about this whole scenario, I thought to myself, there's one group of parents we haven't addressed. There's one group of parents we have not heard from, and I thought it would be good to hear from them today. I'm talking about parents who have children with special needs. Now, taking care of a child with special needs is it requires a lot of dedication, and it's not an easy thing. This is just when life is normal. Now, think about last year and all that we had to go through with all the disruptions. How did they cope? How are they managing? That's what we want to look at today. I have two amazing parents who will be joining me on set this morning, and we will get to hear their experiences and their challenges and their victories. How have they been coping in this season? How have their children been coping in this season? What are some of the things they have been doing with children being at home? All that is coming up on Parenting Tuesday this morning. And even as we get into this discussion, if you are tuned in today and you are a parent who has a child with special needs, I would also love to hear from you. Share with us your experience. How have you been coping last year into this year with the children at home with the COVID-19 pandemic? How has the situation been like for you and for your child? Your SMSs coming in via 20316, WhatsApp coming in via 0786 316 316. A very good morning to you. In case you're just joining us, you are right on time. It is Parenting Tuesday, and we thank the Lord for the opportunity to be able to have another discussion to enrich and enlighten us to become better parents. Before we get into our discussion for today, Eden Tea, the finest garden tea, Gashai, as I like calling it. And if you haven't tried out Eden Tea, I'm encouraging you to try it out because it truly is the finest garden tea. Comes to you in several flavors: Eden Green Tea, Eden Lemon Tea, Eden Purple Tea, Eden Ginger Tea. We also have Eden Premium Tea. Eden Tea is reminding us in this season to be our brother's keeper, to work together, because as we continue to work together, we will flatten the COVID-19 curve. And how do we do that? By ensuring we continue doing the little things that we have been taught to do consistently: washing our hands with soap and running water. Very, very important. Not only does that keep the virus at bay, but also it helps us keep other sicknesses and infections at bay. Also, putting on your face mask, very important, and putting it on properly, especially when you're interacting with other people, and also maintaining interpersonal distance. Three simple things that we can do consistently that can help us flatten the COVID-19 curve. Once again, if you haven't tried out Eden Tea, it is available at the local supermarkets at affordable prices. Grab some for yourself today and get to enjoy a nice cup of Eden Tea, the finest garden tea. This morning on Parenting Tuesday, we will be talking to parents with children who have got special needs. And I'm reaching out to you this morning. If you are tuned in and if you are a parent who has a child with special needs, talk to me and tell me what are some of the challenges that you and your child have experienced during this corona virus season. I have a text message here. It says, during this corona season, things were not easy for us as parents. For one, our children's conditions make them very vulnerable. Mine crawls and doesn't like to use his wheelchair. So you can imagine how many times you wash hands and sanitize. He even came to the point he didn't want the ads on corona. Another challenge is when the physio facilities shut down and we couldn't attend, that's making it difficult to obtain the mileages. Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to imagine what you guys had to go through. But thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, giving you the opportunity as well, if you're tuned in, if you are a parent with a child who has special needs, how have you been coping during this COVID-19 pandemic season? SMSs on 20316, WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. In the next short while, we'll be joined by two amazing ladies who are parents to children with special needs, and they will be sharing their experiences with us on how they have been coping during this COVID-19 season. It is Parenting Tuesday, and today we are looking at parents who have children with special needs and how they have been coping during this COVID-19 pandemic. Two amazing mothers with me in studio via Zoom. We have Miriam Mwarania. Miriam, how are you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us today. Na naona huko kwako kuna matunda. I can see some wonderful mangoes in your background huko.
Yes, karibu. Mangoes are right behind me.
We will come and visit you and share those mangoes. We also have Asante. We also have Dr. Jane Mweroro in studio with us. Dr. Jane, how are you doing?
I'm very fine. Habari yako na wewe?
Salama kabisa. Thank you also for finding the time to talk to us this morning. I believe this conversation will be able to help quite a number of people. So maybe I can begin with you, Miriam. Tell us a bit about yourself and your son. You have a son who has got special needs. Talk to us a bit about that.
Okay, thank you for having me. I'm Miriam, and I'm a single mother of one boy. He's 16 years old right now.
Yeah.
And today, looking at my son, you can't tell that he has this courage. My son is highly dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
He has grown with quite a lot of delayed milestones. Early in life, he was not the way he is today. He had this delayed speech. I remember he developed his speech when he was around 7 years. By that time, you couldn't construct a sentence that was coherent.
Okay.
And then walking also took quite some time. I remember he walked not really well at 4 years there, with a lot of staggering. Then social skills and all basic skills were such a problem. So I've taken a lot of time, and I've been I've concentrated a lot teaching. And at teenage, I've seen quite a lot of improvement, but he remains dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still attends a special needs school, and you only tell when you interact with him, he speaks nice English, but ask him to write, you'll be surprised what you get.
Okay.
For
the sake of those who may not understand what it means when you say your child is dyslexic, can you break it down for us? What does that mean?
Dyslexic in simple terms is kind of a neurological disorder,
mm-hmm.
where a child has difficulties in reading and writing.
Mm-hmm.
Not the usual difficulties that most children exhibit.
Yeah.
This is quite intense, that a child will see letters and words appearing different from how a regular child or regular person sees it.
Mm-hmm.
And this affects their right side of the brain, and they're not able to interpret or their cognition to recognize words and letters in a sequential form, and they might appear either distorted or if they're reading like something like they want to write 4, they might type it as 7 with that 6.
Mm-hmm.
S, H, B can appear like D, and they have very poor spelling. When they're older, they will maybe be able to write better than those who are younger, but their spelling and their handwriting is quite challenged. You realize that it's not, and then reading and writing becomes, they even have a real headache when you insist that to do read and write. Yeah.
So does that mean they need more attention in terms of education and learning?
Yes, they require a lot of attention. They don't have to be in a special needs school.
Uh-huh.
They could manage also in a mainstream school with learning support.
Okay.
Some schools integrate learning, but with the new curriculum, I think it's going to work best for these children who have dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
But with the older curriculum, it will because they would bring them pass mark in the whole class very down.
Okay.
Because the teacher has to spend a lot of time with them, and I think they are recommended to take them in a special needs school where they can learn more skills and talents, and they don't have to be pushed and graded, because grading also makes them lose a lot of their confidence.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if they are graded, my son was always last, so he was in a mainstream school, but the kind of school he goes to, he doesn't have to be graded.
Okay.
So he requires a lot of attention from.
Great. Thank you for that. Dr. Jane, what about you? I know you have 3 girls, and 2 of them have got special needs. Tell us a bit about them.
I'm a mother of 3. The firstborn is neurotypical, meaning she doesn't have any challenges.
Yes.
Then the secondborn and thirdborn, who are 8 and 6 years, are both on the autism spectrum disorder.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, they are on different levels and different parts of the spectrum. So they have different interventions and different processing and sensory issues. They both are in an integrated school. The eldest of the 2, who's 8, is in grade 2 in an integrated school. She has learning support in terms of special needs teacher who steps into class when she cannot follow up with the rest of the class.
Okay.
The younger one, who is in pre-primary 1, has what we call resource room access. So she has a special needs teacher who accesses her about twice a day for interactions. Needs to do activities that are occupational therapy based or activities that will improve her speech. Interventions that work with the first one don't work with the second one.
Yes.
So it's become a very big challenge. We have to get different professionals for each.
Wow.
Sometimes we can't afford it.
Yes.
So when we can't afford it, we have to just swing by with. The one in grade 2 has also other comorbidities, other challenges. So at the age of 8, she now has speech and language, but she cannot read a word. So we have had to move to audiobooks, communication, where we use pictures to communicate what she wants. But she has pretty much developed language, and being girls, one thing about girls is they're very good at masking.
Yes.
Very, very hard to know that they have autism until you interact with them for a continued time. Because what they do is they will look at their peers and copy what their peers do.
Yeah.
So them having a neurotypical sister, they've generally copied their sister, and other than the fact that they had delayed speech, she had delayed speech and the way she rolled her words, you cannot tell she has autism by just looking at her. And that compromises her a lot in terms of getting services. Because when we go for assessment for schools, she does not fit special needs schools because she copies, so she can be put in special needs class. And then when you go to a grade, not many schools are willing to take our kids, and if they do, it's very expensive on the pocket. So that becomes that. And then for the youngest, she has a lot of sensory issues, so we don't do lights. And I guess your producer has dealt with
Yes.
So my house has 89%, apart from one window, curtains are drawn. We don't do noise, we don't do crowds, so that means I can't do things like normal church with her. But thank God, as much as COVID was a strain, thank God for COVID, because we finally went to church.
Wow.
We had TV church, and we're going to keep to that.
Yes.
Because Mavuno Kids does an awesome thing. The other thing is that I've learned as their mother to look for a support network.
Okay.
And being a Christian, the support network that I belong to is based from
yeah.
I'm a member. I'm Catholic by faith.
Yeah, just a minute, Daktari. Miriam.
Yes.
Miriam, you know where I come from. When we hear the sound of chicken, we get very distracted. We start getting hungry, and we start thinking somebody needs to prepare some ugali. So maybe what you can do for me, Miriam, is mute your mic a bit. You'll still be able to hear us. You can mute your mic so that we can get to hear Daktari and not lose out on some of the things that she's saying. Yes, that's better. Nikisikia kuku network yangu inaanzaga kupotea. I'm starting to think somebody needs to put some maji on the stove. We make some ugali here and enjoy some lovely things. So, Daktari, back to you. You were mentioning something about church and your kids.
Okay, because we can't do no more church. We are Catholic in this house. We can't do no more church because they cannot take the sensory noise.
Yes.
They'll get distracted, or they'll actually distract the whole service. And we don't have a disability service where I belong. So I joined up with Jackie Mathaga, who belongs to Mavuno Church, and we formed a parent network called Through the Roof. Now, Through the Roof basically is where parents, we come to share ideas, not just on faith-based, because it's based on Luke 5:17 to 25.
Yeah.
But also where to get resources, which schools are admitting, especially now post-COVID. when parents reported back to school, a lot of them were told, due to COVID, please take your child home.
Oh my goodness.
We shall refund you your fees.
Uh-huh.
So you had been told until the opening day, which was either 4th or 5th, you knew your child had a school. Other schools have not opened up to now.
Okay.
So those kids are still at home. They're missing out on developmental issues. I'm grateful for the schools that my children go to because they've been with us throughout. The teachers have kept in touch throughout that whole COVID time. And then when we open, they've taken their time to make sure that my kids not only understood now that they have to put more social distance, that now that they're in school other than home, they also have to put the masks on.
Okay.
I love the fact that wash your hands is now no longer something I see.
Yes.
It's very automatic in my house.
It is everywhere.
So they step into the house, they wash their hands, and that tells me that that's the same thing they are doing in school. I know we have challenges. The first week, I saw people's masks come home. I saw masks I had not issued come home. But of late, I'm seeing the same mask I issued in the morning, it's the same mask coming in the evening. The eldest has learned to ask the teachers for a break when she needs to just get off her mask.
Okay.
So they'll help her step out. The youngest simply just steps out of class. She's in a secure compound and does her thing, and when the teacher will follow her up and make sure she's okay. So transitioning from home to school, as difficult as it was for, I think, me, because I was scared, the school has done an awesome job. Their schools have done an awesome job, and they've transitioned very well.
Okay.
And I hope that remains the status quo.
So back to you, Miriam. When the COVID pandemic hit and children were to stay at home and not go to school, I'm just wondering for you, how did it affect you and your son? You need to unmute yourself. Yes.
Okay. My son, it wasn't easy for him because he's quite friendly and he loves to interact. And being confined at home was very challenging. Even like he's the only child I have, and I have to work. I have an 8 to 5 job, and I had to go to work and leave him at home. He couldn't visit his cousins. He couldn't visit his grandparents. He couldn't go to school. It was not easy for him. And the first few months being a teen, I found him getting a little bit depressed. Of course, then he started spending more time on the internet and computer. And I didn't like it, so the school also introduced online learning quite early. It was good. But then I felt uncomfortable leaving internet unsupervised for him. At some point, I actually withdrew him from the online class. But then I realized he was going to get very, very bored and disturbed. So finally, he was able to cope, and he went back to online, and he was there. But staying at home was quite distressing for him, and most of the time I dragged him to my workplace. I locked him in one of the rooms and I would let him do his classes from there. Then on weekends, he really didn't know where to go. You know that it's a time the country literally closed down. So it was so depressing for him. But then I kept him busy also at home with activities at home. And when the school picked up the learning, then we moved on quite well. But he kept wanting to meet his friends and to go back to school, which was not possible at that time. So going back to school for him has been a good thing for him, but he's also not very happy because he can't interact. They can't have, he can't touch. And you know that because the school is special needs. We have all sorts of special needs. We have autistic children, we have dyslexic children, we have cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and these children love each other. So they come in the morning. Those who are able, a little bit more on the highest, as maybe on they're able to interact better. They help the other children. So they pick them up, they say hi to them, they pull them and show them the way. So he's not able to do that, and that affects him quite a lot.
Wow. I'm just wondering, when there was the switch now to online classes, how did he embrace that? When you compare the physical classes and online classes, how do the two compare in regards to your son?
Interestingly, he was able to cope, apart from the social interactions, which he didn't have, because this was just on the screen. On his dyslexia side, he was able to cope better because they were using Teams. And Teams is very interactive. There's a way they can read for them. They click somewhere and the whole thing is read, the questions are read, and they're able to listen and they're able to understand what the question or what the text is all about. And then he answer by writing there, and the teachers they're very interactive. It was a very interactive session. Actually, at some point, I thought this is the best way to go for dyslexic children. Part of the social side. But now going back to school now, the other day they were taught to write a composition on my holiday, something like that.
Yeah.
And he wrote a whole page. But if you don't know that he's dyslexic, you'll be surprised because you may not understand anything. You don't know how to read his writing. That I'm able and I'm sure able to read. It was funny. He wrote, but you can't really understand what he wrote because he was so much on the internet and on the things. So it's like he didn't practice reading and writing. I mean, he didn't practice writing on his own.
Yeah.
Because the thing is reading for himself and was writing for him. So when he came to write, I realized his writing was than he was writing before this period came.
Okay. You talked about there are days you had to go with him to the office and just place him somewhere where he can connect with school. You must have a very understanding employer.
No, at some point it has to be like in the open place. It is not in the office really where you can enter with him.
Yeah.
Because it's not allowed to. But like an open place, we have a compound and not always you just sit with him there. It's not really official, but you can pull him around because he's big and he's in the compound and he's alone. He can't interact with other people. It was really, I didn't know how to juggle between the two. I remember at one point I told my boss, I don't know what to do with my son. In the morning I have to help him logging into Zoom.
Yeah.
I have to really help him a bit. Then I have to rush to the office. On his own, sometimes he's not able to really get himself going.
Yeah.
But anyway, when it was picked up, the teachers were able to understand that everything that these children need, they're not with their parents at home. So it is them to interact with them, ask them to take a break. My son has this problem of he's not have good concept of time. So they are told to go and wait for 1 hour or 30 minutes and log in, to go back to log in very late because he's not sure that 1 hour is already gone.
Yeah.
So I'm called to say, oh, your son is not online. So then I have to rush home. Luckily, I live close to my workplace.
Wow.
I have to rush home and make sure he's logged in or I call him. Or it was really disturbing for me. I saw myself not really concentrating as well as I could because I had to juggle between helping him and being at my workplace, taking him with me even on weekends when I need to do something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. mentioned being part of a support group. I'm wondering, Miriam, are you also part of a support group? Do you have other parents who have got children who have got special needs that you support one another?
Yes. I have a very good support group. First of all, from the school, we are, like in this class, all the children are mostly dyslexic or autistic.
Yeah.
So as parents, we are together. Then we have other online groups where we interact with parents who have children with special needs. I know almost all parents with children with dyslexia. I have this network. And we are interacting. We have programs we are sent to on how to train our children. They are sent online on WhatsApp. And I have appeared with several parents discussing these issues. My son also at some point decided he was going to be an advocate of children with dyslexia.
Yeah.
He started a YouTube channel, which also I was helping him a lot during the COVID time. He didn't do much because he couldn't travel much, but he has this YouTube where he discusses about learning life skills, where students with dyslexia and autism can learn basic things that would help them improve their confidence. And that I have gotten a group that I also interact with there.
Okay.
And my son interacts with.
Great. This morning we are talking to parents who have got children with special needs and how they are coping during this season, and especially last year when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. If you have any questions for us today, or you're a parent with a child with special needs, you want to share your experience as well, feel free to do so via SMS on 20316, WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. It's Parenting Tuesday. We are talking about to parents, and they're sharing with us the experience over this season that we are in and how they've been able to cope with their children who have special needs. We have Dr. Jane with us, and also Miriam is also with us in studio via Zoom. Dr. Jane, if we can come back to you, I'm just wondering, how did the switch affect your children? Because I'm sure they were used to going to school. Now when this thing hit and kila mtu akae nyumbani, people have to work from home, children have to stay at home, how did they cope with that adjustment?
They both coped differently. The youngest not take it very well.
Oh.
And I think for the last 9 months, we wore our uniform randomly.
Oh, really?
We did. Yeah, we'd wake up, put on our uniform, pick up the bag, reach the gate, and have a meltdown.
Oh,
and
no.
That used to be a psychological toll for myself, for the siblings, the dad,
Yeah.
and herself.
Okay.
So at some point, I actually had the school open the compound just to take her in. Then she realized this is not the norm. So we had a break for a while. Then again, it started. So when the schools opened, trust me, that girl wakes up very early to go to school. For somebody who has to be in school at 8:30,
Yeah.
she's out of her bed by 6. Clearly, she loves school. For the eldest of the two, she didn't give a damn. She didn't care, sorry. She didn't care either
Yes.
way. She didn't care either way. You go to school, don't go to school. I really do not care as long as I have my mommy. She became, she realized mom is a constant. But when it came to school, she had zero interest. She picked up other interests. She started baking.
Oh.
I've had she's had a very expensive hobby called baking. She would help me out with cooking. I no longer peel potatoes in my house or carrots. That's my jurisdiction. She became her small sister's minder.
Wow.
So, and any of my friends who had a baby or was expecting, she became the group fan. She wants to hold babies. She wants to touch the dummies. We tried the online thing.
Yeah.
When the school set online classes
Yeah.
for the eldest. It didn't work out completely.
Okay.
By day 3, we realized we are giving her anxiety issues because her attention span is 10 minutes on one activity, then she wants to move to another one. So we dropped that completely, and we got in a teacher who came in twice a week to just guide her on her PECS, which is the picture communication, and set up activities that she can use to learn. She learns better using games, so we've invested a lot on interactive toys and
Okay.
interactive games. So she'll have math games, she'll have English games, she'll have, believe it or not, Snakes and Ladders teaches maths.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when
Yes.
Yeah, she has Scrabble with her sister. She has a game called Settlers that basically does buying and selling. As much as she has not yet figured out the concept of the value of money. If you put 1,000 shillings and 100 shillings and 50 shillings in front of her, she's going to take the prettiest, and apparently the prettiest is the purple one, 100 shillings. She has no value for money.
Yeah.
She also discovered that girls can look good. I am anti-makeup. I'm basically very simple.
Yeah.
So I have handed her over to her godmother in this journey, Jackie Madhaga.
Yeah.
Jackie is the one who will handle, I don't know, the makeup, the nails, the different hairstyles, because I don't understand them. So Jackie has been the go-to person for that.
Wow.
We have a relationship that does not involve me, but the one that's very good.
Yes.
One that actually she'll actually tell Auntie Jackie ABCD, and I prayed about it for her.
Wow.
So she has a concept of prayer. Yeah, and she knows that it's her duty to make beds, clean the dining table, help me with the dishes. But when it comes to her sitting in front of a screen to study,
Yeah.
that was the big disaster ever.
Okay.
The
I'm just
younger one is a learner. Yes.
I'm just
Pastor John.
wondering, did they understand what was going on and why they couldn't go to school, and why why their siblings were also at home? Did they understand what was going on?
The youngest has never understood why, but the middle one finally understood by around August.
Yeah.
She had the concept down to right. In fact, she used to tell people not to come near her,
Uh-huh.
and she used to ask everybody, "Where's your mask?"
Oh.
Yeah, where's your mask? Mask. She'll actually do this. Where's your mask? So how she understood, people didn't, and she up to date. She doesn't as much as she's a social one. She's the one who wants to be hugged, to be liked. She actually only does that now with very specific people. And if I walk in and I tell her I need to change my clothes and shower first, she'll go like, "Okay, ma'am."
Yeah.
But she'll stand outside the bathroom until I'm done and dressed, and then we can have our hug and have a conversation. So she understood to some extent why
Okay.
she couldn't go out. But the youngest knew.
She didn't have an
And then for
idea.
the young-
and the youngest is a practical learner. You never know what she's learned because she won't participate when all of you are doing something. She'll isolate herself at that point. But much later, you realize she got it. Sometime in December, she sang for us the first stanza of the national anthem in Kiswahili, and we were all looking at her and thinking, "You don't talk, but you're singing."
Yeah. Wow.
So we are grateful for whatever we get at that point and where we are going. So.
Okay, Miriam, back to you. How now that schools have reopened, your son is back in school. How is he coping?
Well, he's coping well, because we had already started with I explained to him what to expect.
Yeah.
And also the school was able to give counseling. The first week they reported. They just reported the other day. It took longer for them to report because we needed every child to be on board and the school had to be made in a way it's comfortable for them.
Yeah.
So he's coping well. But when you go to school, you realize because the classes are not so big, they have to be really spaced, and that's not really helping them much. They wish to are sitting the way they were sitting. They are so spaced, some are behind, and they can't really do things the normal way they used to do. Although they're doing exercise and all that, they have to really keep distance, and that sometimes he had this routine of taking his warm water all the time with his bottle, and we had a routine of how we manage his seizure. That routine we are doing to make our bodies strong.
Yeah.
We had a real routine on how we do it at home. So when he goes back to school, so sometimes he's like, I need to carry the things he was using at home at school, and it's not possible. So that's making him feel like he had already gotten. Okay, it was difficult at home to get used, but to reach a point we had to modify our home. Like we had to buy him a piano which he didn't have, keep him busy, and invest in indoor games. Now he has to go to school and readjust. So that became a bit challenge. Keeping his mask on, I think, is not a big problem for him.
Yeah.
He already understands that. But again, going back to school, what happened during the COVID period last year? Of course, we didn't go home much, and he was so close to his grandfather. But in November, he lost his grandfather. And that's a little bit fear on him. And he feels like he's going back to school feeling a bit low. I don't know how he's responding in class.
Yeah.
But he's actually feeling very low because, this season most people have lost their people. Not due to COVID only, but we've had all those deaths happening around us.
Yeah.
And that has made him not very... he fears that when he goes and meets people in school, that he might contract COVID. He has that in himself.
Yeah.
And he's a bit paranoid. He's not sure what to expect, whether he says. When he comes back every evening, he tells me, I want to sleep some steam with eucalyptus. Every evening he wants to sleep. But he doesn't trust that he didn't collect anything.
Wow.
That's the only thing I'm facing. Yeah, so I have to keep telling him, you're safe, wear your mask, just keep your distance, and God will take care of the rest. That's why we are prayerful.
Okay. What would you say are some of the lessons that you have learned during this season? Because life was so disrupted, many of us are looking back and, we've had to make adjustments. We've learned a lesson here and there. For you as a parent with a child with special needs, what are some key lessons you've learned?
Okay. I've learned quite a lot that it's also that life can change any moment, and it's good to be prepared and to prepare our children.
Yeah.
That things not stable, that life can just get disrupted, and it's important for us to talk to our children much more and get closer to them, because when everybody else is kept away from you, it has to be you and your family.
Yeah.
So though we are a prayer family, we took time to invest more in family devotion. And I learned, and my son actually improved a lot in reading, because I could make him, he could make himself actually read the Bible. He told me, Mom, we have to read the Bible every day.
Wow.
And that helped me, because he would read like maybe two paragraphs. This is not easy for him. And I have improved his reading. Writing not as much, but his reading. I saw him improve by reading the Bible. We have learned also to do a family devotion, no matter how many we are in the house, whether we are two or whether we are one.
Yeah.
To not do it when we feel like do it all the time. we have learned to get closer, to have fun,
Yeah.
just the way we are. Although we had it, we have had it much more, and we have just learned a lot of rescues. Today, as Dr. says, we've made our children, even being a boy, he's gotten to the kitchen. He has cooked much more dishes that he could cook before.
Wow.
And we have just learned to depend on God also, that when everything is taken, that we depend on God, and He has been there for us.
Wow, that's amazing. That's good. Daktari, I'm just wondering, what would you want other parents to know? You know, sometimes we have no idea if you're a parent and your children don't have special needs. Sometimes we can take some things for granted. So if you were to speak to the parents who don't have children with special needs, what are some key things you would want them to know?
That list would be very long, but here among them would here among them would be learn to be kind, learn to be kind, learn to be patient. Don't just assume. Yeah, I've had points where I've been told my children are bad mannered, or somebody has actually pinched my child in public because they think they're flipping, and that basically puts me on defense most of the time.
Yeah.
Ask a parent, are you okay? Is what's going on here? Do you need any help? And also learn to listen. Learn to listen as a parent. I usually say we are all candidates of disability in any form or the other. Just as we were born and will die at some point, disability is a candidate for everyone.
Yeah.
And it comes in different forms. Some are born with it, some will get injured along the way. COVID itself taught us mental depression and mental issues, which are basically disabilities, will happen. So to every parent out there is learn to listen, learn to be patient, learn to be kind, and always lend a helping hand. Yeah. To do tomorrow, it's you. Also pay it forward, especially to my fellow parents who have disabled children. If you get help from someone and you're able one day, pay it forward, support another parent who cannot get it.
Okay.
Be able to do things together. Yeah, that. But I'm sure this is something I can talk about the whole day from different angles. And when all is said and done, trust God.
Yeah.
He's going to provide. I mean, COVID, we lost our jobs, but somehow kids were provided for. I know Miriam went some groups together somewhere.
Yeah.
And you can see what God has done step by step. There are people who didn't know where their next meal was coming from.
Yes.
But somehow they got the meal. And yeah.
Wow. So even as we wrap up, maybe both of you can share this and then we can wrap up. You know, when we look at education, I think one of the things all of us are agreeing, we've seen, looking at just the Kawaida schools, public schools, we've seen children learning under trees. We've seen teachers who have been stretched to the limit. And all of us are agreeing, you know, more needs to be done. We need to build better facilities for our children. We need more teachers. I'm just thinking for the both of you as parents who have got children with special needs, what are some of the gaps you have seen? What are some of the things you think the government should step in and either improve or initiate to make this process better for your children? Dr. I can begin with you.
I don't even think we're talking about gaps. We're talking about values and trust when it comes to the support for our children. In terms of education, we need more teachers who are actually trained properly. The ratio currently of a special needs teacher to the pupils is, I think, 1 to 1,000. That is unacceptable. It should be 1 to 5 with an assistant.
Yes.
And then these teachers should have specifics. If a teacher is handling autism, they have no business then moving down the line and handling a dyslexic kid. Although sometimes the kid has dyslexia, because then we'll become a jack of every teaching without having the specificity and patience that our children have. Another gap basically would be the government needs to just put the infrastructure in place. I know there's a National Council of People with Disability. They have an awesome big budget towards education. And apart from Nairobi County, where I have seen a class per every constituency for autistic kids, the rest of the county wake up and do something. You know, I'm going to talk from autism, which is the shoe that pinches me.
Yeah.
If I had the facilities within the public sector, trust me, I wouldn't be forking up 100,000 a term to access a private school.
Yeah.
And that is that is just education. Then we also need to restructure the way therapy is handled. Currently, Kenya therapy is handled in hospitals, meaning I have to move my child from school, take them to a hospital, let the therapist come home and to school and work in schools where they have the child throughout the day.
Yes.
So those are just the two. And then also when it comes to security and justice, the government needs to put things in place. Our kids are not protected, neither by the law, in theory, yes, but practically no.
Yeah.
And also the operations and the tools of the government need to come in and actually protect them. Every week, I think I see a post of a missing child, and that child has needs. We need to do more.
Yeah.
And also the government needs to realize that the parent of a special needs child is the most exhausted, most fatigued parent on this earth.
Yes.
And even the crimes we see committed against special needs children, trust me, as a parent who works in it, who has a very good support network, I understand that parent. It's a crime, yes, it's a sin, but probably the only thing they thought at that point is if they get rid of this child, I'll slip. So the government needs to not only come up in education, health, they need also to give parents a place to just recuperate and just come back and be able to be parents.
Okay. Miriam, anything you can add to that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the government can step up its mandate for a more inclusive education, where we could have maybe the government can also make sure that all public schools have a special needs unit or an integrated way, especially because this only happens more in Nairobi. You go to other schools, and they have no idea what are special needs. So we also need the government to take up the mandate to create awareness, so that the society is more aware of what to be there with the children, and the diagnosis can be done early if people are aware. So some parents are sitting with their kids at home, they don't know what's ailing them, they think their kids are stupid or they are slow. The teachers also some may not be aware. So maybe also the curriculum. We have, of course, the special needs curriculum, which is taught in universities and colleges, but we could have a special needs unit put in all the teacher training courses, where teachers are taught about special needs as a unit, possibly, whether they are doing special needs or not, so that they are aware and to be able to diagnose these kids early. And also have assessment centers in all schools, in most schools, so that as kids join school, assessment can be done early enough and they're able to be placed well, so that they can be helped.
Okay.
That will really help, yeah.
Dr. Jane and Miriam, thank you so much for finding time to talk to us this morning. I think you've done a good job, and we thank the Lord for you. May the Lord give you strength as you continue to raise up your children, and may He continue to provide all the resources that you need. I believe somebody has been encouraged today, so asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Na Miriam, nitakujia maembe na kuku.
God was making it is there for you.
Hallelujah. The Lord has heard my prayers. That's all the time we have for our discussion today. Thank you so much for being a part of Parenting Tuesday on Jam 316.
This and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.